Amazing. Thank you, Hunter, for the amazing intro. And also, I am so excited to be here as the interviewer for the amazing Gonçalo Hall. And so, I want to just give us all a quick introduction into who he is. I've had the honor of meeting him in person and just seeing the evolution of all of the amazing community work, but then really paving the way in regards to innovation and the future of work. So, Gonçalo is the CEO of NOMADX. And today we're going to be talking about the future of work. How can we really make locations more accessible, attractive, and impactful, not just for remote workers, but then also with the integration of local communities and spaces as well. So we are honored to have you here today. Thank you so much. And as we're getting ready to dive in, can you share with folks where you're joining us from?
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very excited. This is really cool. Currently, I'm in Porto in Portugal, because we are launching in a couple of hours our new community here in Porto. This is one of the coolest cities I know, and people kept pinging me about we need to do something here. There are so many cool people. You have to do something in Porto. Here I am.
I love this. Porto was actually the first place that I took a solo trip. So it's near and dear
Mm.
to my heart. I was like, next time I've got to come and join you all. I want to kick off just because I think you have so much experience right now. You're really, again, a leader in the remote work and digital nomad space. But let's go back in time. And I'd love to hear if you could share a little bit more about what has been your journey and how did you really first start off as a digital nomad?
I learned about this lifestyle, I want to say 11 years ago, because I was working in the office like most people were, and I had four monitors in front of me. And I used to work during the whole night because I was working in the sports data industry. So we had events 24/7. And I just read this article, people working from Bali from their laptop. I was like, that seems accurate to me. I've been to seven high schools. I've been traveling, and I always had this curiosity, not just traveling, but how is life there? I remember when I went to Croatia for the first time traveling, I was like, it must be cool to live here for a couple of months. And
Mm,
this was long before I heard about digital nomadism. So I had to reeducate myself, reskill myself, fight for 6 years to actually then buy my golden ticket to Bali, because that was the cool thing to do in 2018. And yeah, that's how my journey became. Lots of studying, lots of information. In the process, I learned too much about remote work. I became passionate about remote work. And so
mm,
I actually started as a remote work consultant for companies. And I became an ambassador for remote work because I see the change that remote work can do in the world. And
yeah.
currently, we're doing the same with nomadism, trying to change how digital nomadism is seen, communities, etc. But it all started from an article, like most cool things.
Mm. I love that. And I also think it's really important because you were in tune with digital nomadism and remote work before it became something that was a trend or before it became something that a lot more people picked up on. And so I'd love to hear a little bit from you. What are some of the biggest shifts that you've seen of how remote work and digital nomadism has evolved over the years? And also a little bit about where you think it's going in the future now.
Wow, that's a big question. I think the biggest shift in the nomad community was that before, when I started, there was no remote jobs at all. There were
Mm,
very few. I'd say it was the niche. I remember, like the community in Bali made fun of me, my friends, because I had a job. Nobody in Bali had a
yeah.
job. They were entrepreneurs or freelancers. That's it. And
Mm,
now, when I see my communities, we see that most people have a job. I would say right now, 75%, 80% of the people actually have a job. And it's not bad or good. I think it's actually good for most people to have the stability that allow that to have the predictability to go to one place and know how much they will earn at the end of the month. But
yeah.
definitely this brings a big change to the community when you are talking about the conversations, etc. No, I think entrepreneurs have a very specific way of speaking, of thinking. And so sometimes I missed it, but also now I can create my sub community of entrepreneurs. About remote work, I don't think it changed that much. I think the biggest problem is that it was completely misunderstood in the companies that implemented it. So I think remote work is remote work. Companies are doing this for a long time. We have IPOs like GitLab that do this for a long, long time with huge teams, with more than 1,000 people, and they know how to do it really well. I think the problem is when we implemented remote work, it was so sudden, it was an emergency that we
Yeah.
actually didn't enjoy it. And the companies didn't actually implemented it properly with all, not the rules, but with all the, I say always remote work is not where you work from, it's actually a new framework on how work is done. It's a synchronous communication, it's documentation, it's actually managing not through time, but managing people on outputs. And even though we see now thousands of companies working remotely, most of them 2024 still don't know how to do it. They are still doing Zoom calls, they are still managing hours of work. So that was the challenge of this mass implementation of remote work without any preparation. And you, me, the whole remote work community tried our best to educate people, but it's very hard to change habits. So we keep fighting. And next week I'll be running remote speaking, and we keep fighting. And this is very important. About the future, I think nomadism will just become mainstream in a way that Erasmus is in Europe. So Erasmus, you can move between places and study in a different country for 6 months to 1 year. I think most people that want to try this, it will be part of our path, our human path, to actually work from somewhere else, to learn different cultures. And that is amazing for humanity, honestly. I always say, for example, nobody can be racist if you've been traveling around Africa. You understand we are whole humans. Doesn't really matter. It's impossible. So we need to travel more. We need not just to travel, but we need to experience different cultures. We need to live for 2 months in Cape Verde. We need to live for 2 months in Bali. And then we need to go to Brazil and to North America and to Portugal, because all this brings us personal and professional growth that we'll not see in a different way. So this is for digital nomadism. I'm excited, of course. I'm very excited for this one. In the remote workspace, I struggle. I struggle with understanding where we are going, because every time I think something good is happening, it's kind of working like a pendulum, right? We
Yeah.
see everybody's going remote. We are going back to the office. Oh, the company going back to the office is bankrupt now. This happened in Porto, actually. One of the
Yeah.
companies really wanted to go back to the office, went bankrupt after 3 months. I'm not saying it's connected, but maybe.
There's some type
Meaning,
of correlation.
yes. The thing is, people understand that remote work is the best system. And
Mm,
that leaves me hopeful. The top talent is working remotely and wants to work remotely. It's
yeah.
the middle managers, the extroverts that are struggling because they lost the power they had over the people. So I think we just need to keep growing, keep getting educated, and actually make sure that in the future we keep this ambassador work, we keep educating the companies, and we don't think that because 25-30% of companies are working remotely, that the job is done. As LeBron says, job is not done. We are far from job being done. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of education to do. I think we just need to be patient as well, being in this ambassador side. We need to be patient. We need to keep pushing on the positive way. We need to keep bringing the change to everywhere, to everyone. And also the old leadership that is more, and they don't really like remote work because they don't know how to lead remotely. They're
Mm.
going to be retired in a couple of years. So this new generation is taking over. So we can just try to accelerate, to educate, and to make sure that the future is distributed so we all have access to remote work.
I love this. And I mean, you spoke on so many really important things. And I just want to retouch for those of you who are listening, if you have any questions for Gonzalo, please drop them in the chat and we'll bring them into the conversation. But the cross-cultural communication and understanding, right, of how we're able to grow as individuals, as professionals, when we're able to experience new cultures, be in the room with different people and really learn is something that's really important. And then you also mentioned leadership of how can we also lead remotely as well and then work through, yeah, some of the nuances of what does it mean like, or what does it look like to lead, and then also navigate power dynamics remotely as well. So I want to pause because I think a lot of the work that you're doing now, I know that you do so many amazing initiatives, but as the CEO of NOMADX, tell us a little bit about what that initiative is, and then also how are you really doing the work? And you've been doing this for years. So, how have you been doing the work to make locations both accessible, attractive, and impactful for those who are able to work remotely?
I love this. So my idea is actually the reason why I got into NomadX, I didn't create it. I just acquired it in the past because the old business model was not working. So I got the brand. I love the brand. I was a fan before. And now, yeah, I'm the CEO and I built everything around this. So the idea is that we live through a loneliness stage of humanity as well, meaning we are hyper connected with this little device. actually this is more a window than it is a connection. So the difference is in a window, we are looking into people's lives, cool. We are not actually connected with them because we
Yeah.
are looking at them. This is different. And so we see all the research shows us that humans are more lonely than ever, even though we feel more connected, and we believe we are more connected. So this problem is even worse once you are traveling the world, moving places every couple of months. Even though you have nomad friends, it becomes very hard to connect with people because you have very different lifestyle. So what I understood back in the days was that we travel between communities, not between locations. The reason why we both went to Sende is not because Sende is beautiful. Sende is a co-living space in the north of Spain. It's because we were looking to find a community there. We were looking to find a certain type of people that goes to Sende. The reason why people go to Bali is because they want to find certain type of people that go to Bali. The location is the background. The location is important, but that's not why people go to places. At least that's not why nomads choose to live in
Focus.
places. With this theory, we started a small project in Madeira with the government of Madeira called the Digital Nomadism Madeira. Started with the first digital nomad village in the world. It was in Ponta do Sol, where I now have a house. And it's just the third birthday of this project. And when I
Oh,
spoke with the government, the whole idea was how can we create a community? So I told them about digital nomads. It was great. Madeira is as beautiful as Bali. It's insane. That place is just out of this world. And it's in Europe. I don't know how, but that's in Europe. That's surprising for me, and I'm Portuguese. And so basically the whole idea with the government was how can we create a community? My offer was I want to create a community. I want a village because part of my mission is to decentralize from cities. And with
yeah.
remote work, cities are not the best place to live anymore. If you want to grow a kid, like now I have a baby, if you want to connect with others, cities aren't good for numbers, are not good for quality. So
Yeah.
I believe that villages will be the next best places to live. So this was like what I pitched to the government. They believed me, which is weird. I was just a guy with shorts and t-shirts. And so the government of Madeira has enormous merit in everything that happened since then. We launched the project 3 years ago, and since then the project just took off. Because again, we focus in the community. So we have a free co-working space, free for everyone, locals, expats, nomads. And we have 60 events per week all around Madeira. We have so many things happening. Like Madeira was amazing, but people left because there was nothing to do. Young people left because there is no jobs, there is nothing, no social life, no big parties. We changed all that. Today, if you go to Ponta do Sol, the place is buzzing. It's a village. It has like 4 streets down the village. The place is buzzing with young people, the laptops. Even outside, where I am right now in Porto, outside open space there from this American company. So I understood there is something here. The economic impact was huge. I'm talking about 30 million euros of direct economic impact. The social impact was huge. I still get stopped by people in our events, especially in the Purple Friday, when it's our best party, to say, you changed my life. I never believed I would come back to Madeira, but now I'm working remotely. I work for Germany and I came back to my home because I have this community I can tap on. I can have this international community back in my home. So I'm going back home. And they're
Mm.
like, damn, this is good. So basically, I decided, okay, if this works in Madeira, it should work in different places. So my next project was Caparica, then I did it in Cabo Verde, then I have Brazil, which is the size of Europe. My God, that place is insane. I love Brazil, but whew, that country is big. And now I'm doing this. I'm creating communities with local governments, with the local businesses. Local businesses are a key part. Nomads actually experience the locations through the local businesses, right? You go to the restaurant, you go to the co-working space. So I'm also educating the local businesses to welcome nomads, to cater to nomads, from teaching them we need vegetarian or vegan food to everything in between, menus in English. So we do the preparation, we partner with the government, we launch, we take care of the community, we have a community manager, and we kind of productize how you build communities and what is a nomad community, right? So we work with the city for the city. This is usually government investment for the private sector to win through the attraction of the nomad community. But they can go even deeper than that because after 3 years in Madeira, we saw that many people ended up moving to Madeira. They fell in love, they moved to Madeira. And Madeira was, for the last 30 years, losing population every single year. This is
Yeah.
not true anymore, which is very interesting. We ended up attracting businesses. More than 200 businesses were registered by nomads in the last couple of years. 200. That's a lot of tax
Wow.
money. So now we are in this. I use this as a funnel where digital nomads are on the top of the funnel. We want to attract population to the right places so they become expats, hopefully. And 25% of them are entrepreneurs or have the ambition of becoming entrepreneurs. So we want to help them set up the business in the location to attract more tax money, to attract more jobs, etc. It's literally a funnel. And in the end of the funnel, where we're trying to work right now, is to create this innovation ecosystem. So if we have locals that are learning how to innovate, we have expats that move there that are in love with the place and bring this different mindset. And then we have nomads with this constant stream of ideas, of visions, of experiences. If we integrate them in one place, then magic can happen. At least this is what I believe. Working on it, I can prove everything else I said. This one is still work in progress. It's the last part of the funnel. So I think that's a little bit how nomads can help and how we build projects with governments for nomads to help the whole economy and social of the locations win. Of course, we have to be very careful with the locations we select. We have a huge curation system to make sure the locations are cool. We have a curation part that nobody can replace, which is the vibe, you know? When you go
Yeah.
to a place, certain places have a vibe. So I say, yeah, we need accommodation, of course. We need a co-working space, of course. We need activities, but the place needs to have a vibe. I cannot
Yeah.
explain, but there is a vibe. Ponta do Sol has a vibe. Pipa in Brazil has a vibe. Mindelo has a vibe in Cabo Verde. So we are also looking for the X factor, which is the vibe.
I love this. We have to have a follow-up call because I think even just the way that you talked about the funnels, but I think it's really important because again, there's that integration of how are we not just having it serve the people who are coming to travel, but showing how that makes a local impact. Because then again, once we get governments and local organizations behind this desire, then we're able to move forward. So we got a question from the chat that I'd love to hear your point of view on. Someone was asking, why might it be difficult for people from some locations to get remote jobs based on the locations that they're in? So specifically, they are located in Africa, and some of the feedback that they got was that unfortunately they're not able to be hired because of their location. So if you could kind of scale this answer back to be able to say, for individuals who are in locations that companies or organizations might not necessarily think they can find remote workers, how can they position themselves and open themselves up to more opportunities to be able to get remote work?
I love this question because I believe Africa has the biggest opportunity in history because of remote work. And we are seeing it in different places. I know you know much more than I do. I just have a vision, but I definitely see how Africa will become the key talent ecosystem of the world. I have zero questions about that. Even if you're facing barriers today, I don't think you'll see these barriers in 5 years. I think in 5 years, with the work that has been done, with the education that has been done in Africa, Africa is going to be, my God, I'm excited for this. I want to go to Ghana, I want to go to South Africa, I want to go to Mozambique, and I want to build stuff there. So I just need more time, but wait for me. About the jobs, I don't think there is any prejudice in terms of Africa. I think there is sometimes legal issues and sometimes issues with security, as if this makes sense. So certain big, especially big companies have a list of countries where their workers can go because of the security of data. So many countries are not included in this. And if you are unlucky enough to live in one of these countries, I don't want to say, I think Nigeria is one of these countries where people cannot travel if you have a lot of data, access to data of clients in their laptops. I know Thailand is one of these. I know China is completely forbidden for most people if you have access to data because they can literally access your data. So this is the first part. If you are unlucky enough that your country is one of these lists, that's not good. But the workaround is actually to work as a contractor or as a freelancer. So meaning sometimes you cannot get a contract. And for example, most nomads move from working full-time to a company with all the rights they have to contractors because the laws are not adjusted to people travel. So we actually need to become contractors as we are our own company, we are our own institution, and so we just pass invoices to the companies and we work independently. So that may be the workaround. There's the EOR ecosystem like remote.com, deal.com, etc. But I think sometimes just the easy part is just you don't have to deal with the legalities of Africa. That's still very complex. That's one of the biggest issues of Africa. It's not poverty anymore. It's the complexity of the legal system.
Yeah.
I just become a contractor. I send you an invoice by the end of the month. We have a contract time of providing services to you. I'll send you an invoice. I'll take care of my stuff in my country, and I'll deal with it. So that may be the workaround for it.
I love this. And I think it's again, number one, plus one. I've been living in Spain for 10 years, and the contractor move has been something that's really useful, especially when you're dealing about different legalities. And I think you bring up a really good point as well of how do the governments think? What are some of those things behind the scenes that we might not necessarily know or see? So I want to encourage all of us, if you're having struggles with your location, check out the list that Gonzalo had mentioned, see if you can find some types of workarounds to be able to get, or I'm sorry, to be able to, I'm thinking of the word in Spanish, investigate, to be able to investigate the different opportunities. And I also just want to say, I think, and this is going back to what you were saying before, Gonzalo, but really leaning in and saying, how can that make you a differentiator? Because like what you were saying, Gonzalo, something that's really important is that when you have cross-cultural insights, when you're able to bridge the gap across different locations, you can almost position yourself as a must-have hire versus a nice-to-have hire. So thinking through some of those differentiators that you might have as well to bring even more impact to the organization. Okay, I love this. And speaking about misconceptions, right? I want to touch on a couple more questions that have to do with corporations, but then dive into a little bit more for those who might be interested in either finding remote work or moving around as a digital nomad or as an expat. But what do you see, either with the organizations or the corporations that you work with, some of the biggest misconceptions that they might have around digital nomadism, right? So they're looking to hire someone, but they might be in a different country every couple of months, or they might be living abroad. What are some of those misconceptions? And then how might folks be able to mitigate those as well?
Yeah, I actually speaking. I'm mediating a panel at Running Remote, and of course we went to speak about it, and it will be next week. But Whereby is there, MailChimp is there, and yeah, some really cool people that have to deal with these problems because they are remote. Some people want to be nomadic. And I asked them this, like, how do you deal with this? And it's actually a nightmare for companies, again, because of the legal issues because the countries are not ready, the laws are not ready to welcome digital nomads or to have digital nomads in companies. They don't understand these people moving to places. How do we tax them? How do we make sure that they are liable to taxes in this country, not in that one? So it's still a nightmare for companies. So we need to be aware of this. So when we propose the solutions, it makes sense for both sides, right? Sometimes when the companies say you cannot travel, most of the times it's because of fear of this legal side of things. It's not because they don't trust you. It's not because they don't understand digital nomadism. It became fairly normal, even between C-level people in big companies. For example, the CEO of Whereby is actually a digital nomad. The COO of HR, well, actually, no, he just moved to home away, is a digital nomad for a long time, can vary. So it's not that. It's literally sometimes it's hard to understand the legal side of things. So if you really want to deep into this world, you should be the one providing information for the companies, not the other way around. And again, going back to my previous answer, sometimes can be just, why don't I become a contractor? We sign a contract, I provide you services for 2 years if you like, or for 6 months or for 1 year. If this goes wrong, it's a contractor. You don't have to deal with all the crazy stuff we have to deal. If it works out, we just keep going because I want the freedom. I'll only work for you with the freedom. And so again, sometimes just trying to delete that legal side that pushes for a lot of compliance can really help to delete the barriers to get into this lifestyle, into this remote work idea. Finally, I think actually companies do understand what is digital nomad nowadays. So I think most companies now understand. I think there are some people that during the pandemic got really excited and didn't do a good job while they were nomading because everybody was very excited to leave their home. They didn't work that much or many hours. So now we have to make it again normalize it, which will be the future. So even if some apples didn't do a great job during the pandemic because everybody was excited to leave their countries for the first time, I think now we are going to a place where everything is more stable. People are doing a good job. People are doing a better job because they have all these inputs from the community. And in midterm, things should be normalized. Probably not the legal side. I think countries will take years, 10 years to adapt. So meanwhile, go around, learn where to start a company. You have Estonia, you have US, maybe in your own country, but make it easy to start a company. And then you are working as a legal institution, and then you don't have to be anywhere. So use delete all this resistance that companies may have with the fear of where you are working from.
I love this. And again, I want to encourage everyone who's listening, if you have any last burning questions for Gonzalo, please drop them now. But something that you've been talking about throughout this, and I think both of us being in the digital nomad and expat space for almost a decade, there's a little bit of a transition that happens, right? People get excited, they want to travel the world, they go to different places 2 weeks at a time, and then as time goes on, they evolve, they have different locations, they become a little bit more location independent. So I'd love to hear from you if someone's getting started on their journey where they might not necessarily want to be digital nomading and traveling around as much, but they want to find a new home base or they want to go into that next step of finding different locations of where they could work. What are some of the benefits that you found of being in locations for a longer amount of time, and both for them individually and then also for the local area as well?
I believe we're all looking for a place, to be honestly. So I'm a nomad for a while, 7 years, I don't know anymore. Uh, and I traveled the world to understand. I didn't know back then when I was traveling the world, let's be honest. But now I understood I was looking for a place I could call home, to a place where I could belong, or to a place, to an environment that would make me happy with the things I love to do. So I know now that I need to be by the ocean. I grew up in Lisbon. I am Portuguese. We grew up in the ocean. There is no way around it. I need the ocean to be happy. I can go to the mountains. I can be happy in the mountains for 1 month. Then need to go back to the ocean. So I need the ocean. I need sports. I need CrossFit. I need community. I need co-working space. I need to move my body. So that's my ideal. The ideal world, I have beach volleyball and CrossFit to be very happy. A community in
I
the
remember
co-working.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that doesn't change. We met in the mountains, but my core doesn't change. It's still the
Yeah.
same. It's still the same for a long time, right? So it's like after traveling the whole world from Southeast Asia, Europe, a little bit of Africa and South America, I keep finding my favorite places and I hang out mostly my favorite places. If you ask me how long will you be outside your favorite places this year, I think with conferences and everything, I'll be 3 months outside my favorite places, which right now are Madeira. I stay in Madeira 5 to 6 months, Ponta do Sol. It's my happy place. What can I do? Then I will stay in Pipa in Brazil for 2, 3 months because they have the beach, they have this tropical lifestyle. It's a small village. I'm in small villages. What can I do? And so I keep looking for these places that fit my description of perfect life, where I can be both productive, connect with cool people, and do sports because I believe sports keep us happy. So this is me. What are the benefits? Well, you can actually make friends. People in the cafe know what you order. And this is, as a nomad, this is the best sensation in the world. Like I go
I
in
agree.
Ponta do Sol, I go to the cafe. Oh, we made your favorite chocolate mousse today. I was like, oh yes, thank you. That's what we love. And sometimes they offer you stuff. And like you become part of the family, even if you don't live there full time. Like I don't. I live 6 months, 5 or 6 months. You become part of the family for them. And when you come back, people celebrate. And that feels
Yeah.
good. It feels really good when people celebrate when you come back. And it feels good that you know where everything is and that you are back and you tap in the local community, you see your old friends. It feels really good.
Mm.
So for your mental health, even if you are like me and you cannot stay in one place, because that's my DNA and there's nothing I can do about that, I believe. Just build a base. Like you'll be 10 times happier with the base. You will value much more the travel you do. You'll value much more when you go back home. You can
Yeah.
buy 3 or 4 books. Nomads don't buy books. It's nice. I have like 10 books now. It's amazing.
I love
And and on the other side, destinations want you to stay there, meaning
it.
they want the whole nomadism for them is a funnel for talent attraction. We are seeing everybody knows that countries are fighting to bring FDI, foreign direct investments. They need to attract companies that to make more tax money. The next war will not be to attract companies, will be to attract talent.
Mm.
And nomadism is an easy way to show their location for a large number of people for 2, 3 months, for people to experience how it is to live there, so they can make an informed decision when they move there. So again, we are in the crazy world where countries are fighting to attract us. That's how good the world is right now. I know that's not what we see in the news, but the reality of the world, countries
Yeah.
are fighting to attract talent. Countries are giving visas. Some countries are giving passports for people to move there. And
Listen.
that's a crazy new world. So that's the future, honestly. It's we are just starting this talent war, this human talent war, and the only war we're fighting actually. And it's nice to have now the power on our side to actually choose where we want to live, to choose our happy places, to have visas that support our future. So as long as we are educated, as long as we can show we are valuable, it's a whole new world that was not available to most people 10 years ago, and that now it is available for everyone.
And I mean, what better way to end this amazing interview? Just because, again, so many of the things that you spoke about, not only did they resonate deeply with me, where the coffee order and everything, but really just putting the power back into the hands of all of you who are watching, right? So if we're living in a world and a time where there's more opportunity than ever to not just be able to move in between different countries, but then also find your new sense of home where you can then thrive as a personal and professional, as a person and as a professional. We just really want to encourage you to do that. So, Gonza, as we're wrapping up, I would love for you to share with the audience how they can stay in touch. What are some of the things that you're working on right now? And yeah, really just being able to continue being in the same room as your knowledge and expertise.
I build communities, so I hang out around my communities most of the time. So if you want to come to Madeira, that's my happy place, one of them. And also, I'm organizing a conference, a physical conference. I love to educate online and meet offline. And so I'm organizing a conference for around 500 people around AI, entrepreneurship, nomadism, the whole future of economy and stuff. It will be in Algarve. It's the nomadworld.org. And it's going to be in October in Algarve. It's the cheapest conference you'll ever join because, again, we are supported by the government, so we can make it super cheap for everyone. And yeah, come meet me there. I think it's going to be super fun. You'll learn about different communities. Buenos Aires is coming to speak. Different places are coming to speak and governments. So it's a good place to hang out, to meet governments, meet people, meet businesses, and just grow. Like this whole life is about growing, about learning, about experiencing. So and if you want to connect with me, I'm not very responsive as Sienna now. No, sorry, Sienna. But I hang out mostly on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is also my happy online place. It's the only place where I see everybody being smart and trying to tell you cool things for you to learn for free. So I write almost every day on LinkedIn what I see in the world, what I experience in the world, my vision. Sometimes I change my mind, and you can follow everything on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to have you be here today to share your wisdom with our audience, especially as you have a launch and a busy day coming up. So, Gonzalo, thank you so much. And please continue staying in touch. Folks, reach out to Gonzalo, go to the conferences, join the communities because you'll gain nothing but a ton of value. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you.